Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Marky, and today I'm going to show you where all of the squirrel locations are in Lost Judgement. There are 56 squirrel locations, 30 in Yokohama, and 26 in Kamurocho. However, you won't be able to get the final squirrel location in Yokohama until you found the other 55. I am not 100% sure how to get this side quest to activate, but for me, it showed up in chapter 5. I have also been working on the school stories and have most of them completed. I would assume that would be related because Amasawa is part of the cutscene when you first activate this side quest. Here's the map of Yokohama. It is numbered in the order I will go through in this guide. I have also added timestamps below in the description. Go ahead and pause here if you need to just find one or two. And here's the map of Kamurocho. Again, this is numbered in the order I will go through in this guide. And if you need to skip to one in particular, the timestamps are in the description. The first squirrel, and this will be the first squirrel for everyone, is located on the side of the school close to the parking lot. You will see the blue folder on your map showing you there's a quest in this location. Once you get close to the quest, a cutscene will begin explaining the squirrels. With all the squirrels, you will need to be in the detective mode and focus on them. For the first squirrel, you'll need to use your noise amp. Using the noise amp, follow the white beam and eventually you will be able to examine the area it leads you to receive an item. With the first squirrel, you'll get Superstitious Eater's Guide, which is a skill. The second squirrel is also right outside the school, close to the water. This is a two-part squirrel, meaning you'll need to find the first squirrel that has the number 1 next to it, and then that will lead you to the squirrel with the number 2 beside it. The squirrel is on the large brick section of the fence next to the security guard. Use your noise amp to find the second squirrel, which is on the pillar of the bridge in the water. Then use your drone to fly to the bottom of the pillar in the water to collect the shining light. This will give you the Book of the Ardent. For all of the squirrels, you will need to examine them in order to use your device to locate the object or the next squirrel. The third squirrel location is to the north of the school. Down the path that is by the water, you can see the squirrel on the path that is being washed over by the water. Use your detective dog, who will then lead you back down the path south, and right where the walkway starts to incline, you will see the shining object on the path that is being washed over as well. Once you collect the object, you will receive a bust amulet. The fourth squirrel location is to the south in the bar district, in the park. Once in the park, the squirrel is located to your right on the wall. Examine the squirrel and use your noise amp and follow the sound to the trunk of the tree behind you. You will find a bow or a ribbon, and you will have another small cutscene with the little girl, who will then trade you the bow for miracle darts. The fifth squirrel location is still in the bar district, just south of the fourth squirrel in the alleyway on the wall. Examine the squirrel and use your noise amp to follow the sound further through the alleyway to the second squirrel. Then use your detector to follow the green light to the clothing store. Use your detector on the clothes to the left of the store's doors to examine the area and receive a red Pyroxene. The sixth squirrel location is just south of the bar district on the wall in the parking lot. Use your detector for the first squirrel and follow the green light on it to the second squirrel that is just right of the first squirrel on the building right below the windows. Use your drone to fly on the balcony to the shining object just below the second squirrel. Here you'll receive dog food. The seventh squirrel location is further south on the same road as the sixth squirrel. Go as far as you can south on this road until you reach the truck and barrel blocking your way, and the squirrel is to your left on the ground next to the stairs leading down to the water. Examine the squirrel and use your detector and follow the green light down the stairs and to the second squirrel on the wall. Use your noise amp to follow the sound just behind you to the brick section that is just sticking out on the bridge to find the third squirrel. Use your drone to fly to the top of the pole right above the third squirrel and collect the shiny object, which will give you the Book of the Slithering Snake Volume 2. The 8th squirrel location is just east of the 7th squirrel, right across the water by the homeless camp. Go into the homeless campgrounds and into the bathroom. You will see the first squirrel on the wall as soon as you walk in. Use your noise amp to follow the noise back out to the bathroom and towards the blue tarps. You will see the second squirrel on the closest blue tarp to you. Use your detector and follow the green light further down into the camp. Point the detector at the tire stack next to the blue tarp covering some boxes. Once you examine the tires, you will receive a rainbow Pyroxene. The 9th squirrel location is just north of the homeless camp, really right across the street inside is it the Popo store? Inside the convenience store. Once inside, look to your right and you will see the squirrel on the wall. Use your detector to follow the green light to the back left corner of the store and examine the drinks. This will give you floral paint. The 10th squirrel location is southeast of the last squirrel location on Central Street in a parking lot. You will see the squirrel on the fence, and at the back of the lot, examine the squirrel and then use your dog to lead you to the location of the object, which is over by one of the parking garage's pillars. You will receive Showa Duel Records water. The 11th squirrel location is just north of the last location, still on Central Street. It is also on a fence, but the lower brick half of the fence, right next to the opening for another small parking area. Examine the squirrel and use your noise amp on the first squirrel to follow the sound to the second squirrel just south on the street pole. Use your detector to follow the green light to the third squirrel, which is on another pole across the street next to the taxi. Use your drone to fly to the middle of the street pole to collect the object on top of the white spears. This will give you striped paint. The 12th squirrel location is located north of the last one on Central Street, right next to the office on the wall. Examine the squirrel and then use your detector to follow the green light to the edge of one of the shrubs on the sidewalk. Examine the shrub to collect some boots. This will also give you a cutscene with the little girl, who again will then trade the boots with the 9 gates tile. The 13th squirrel location is just east of the last squirrel on, and forgive me if I mispronounce any of these street names, Isezaki, I think that's how you pronounce that, which is over by the shopping district. Go inside the convenience store on the corner, and once inside, the squirrel is to your right as soon as you walk in on the wall. Examine it and use your noise amp to follow the noise to the back of the store to the pharmacy section. Examine some items that are close to the floor for the Flux Fissure Redux, which is a skill. The 14th squirrel location is just north of the last squirrel location on Aigen Street, next to the taxi and restaurant or the food icon. While you are walking down the road, you will see the squirrel on the yellow sliding door on the right. Examine the squirrel and use your dog to lead you to the object, which will lead you a little north over by some stairs. You will then collect a play pass. The 15th squirrel location is just west of that last location down Hayakaki Alley. I know that's wrong. I know I said that wrong. You will see a large open parking area underneath the building. The first squirrel is located on the wall. Examine it and use your detector to follow the green light to the right, just past the parking lot area, to the second squirrel on the wall, just above the opening leading to the door below. Examine the squirrel and then use your drone to fly into the door opening to collect the shiny object, which is elegant paint. This is just a side note because this has happened to me and I didn't quite understand what was going on. But if you ever open up your drone and it says it's unavailable, it is probably because there's something above you that's prohibiting or blocking your drone from releasing. So if you just move a few feet away and then go back in to try to release your drone, it should clear up. The 16th squirrel location is just a little north from the last location. You'll need to go inside the large building on Isezaki Road that has the restaurant. Once inside, the squirrel is on the wall just above the seating area in the corner. Examine it and then use your detector to follow the green light to the pillow on the seating area just left of that squirrel. Examine it to collect the camo paint in brown. The 17th squirrel location is right across the street from the last one on the corner, and this is the Wet Kitchen, the restaurant with the dinosaur over it. Look inside the dinosaur's mouth and you'll see the squirrel on the roof. Examine it and then use your noise amp to follow the sound to the tail of the dinosaur. And once you examine the tail, you will unlock the skill White Snake Mastery. The 18th squirrel location is north of the last one, over by the train station. The squirrel is on the north side of the wall of the train station. Once you examine that squirrel, you can use your noise amp to follow the sound to the stairs of the large building right behind you to the second squirrel location. Examine that squirrel and then use your detector to follow the light to the bulletin board directly right of that squirrel. And the squirrel is inside of the glass case. Examine it and then use your dog to find the object that is right of the third squirrel over by the fence. And you will receive Attack and Defense Booster 1. The 19th squirrel location is to the west of the last squirrel location. On the corner of West Jinai Station. I don't know. The squirrel is on a support beam that's close to the sidewalk and the building. Examine the squirrel and use the detector to follow the green light to one of the middle support beams. Aim the detector at the top edge of the beam and examine it to receive a gold plate. The 20th squirrel location is just a little north from the last location, Kamikaze Street. Go inside the large building that is Le Nouveau Ama, I'm sure I pronounced that wrong, and examine the squirrel that is on the painting to the left as you enter. Then use your detector to follow the light to the flowers inside the vase that is on the opposite side of the counter. Examine it to receive X-4. The 21st squirrel location is just a little southeast of the last one, down West Bayside Street. As you go down the street, you will see the first squirrel on the white bricks on the right side. Once you examine the squirrel, you can use your noise amp to follow the sound to the second squirrel location, which is just right above the last one. After you examine it, use your drone to fly to the shiny object on the awning, and then you'll receive extract recipe tree trunk legs. The 22nd squirrel location is northeast of the last location in the parking lot on Carriage Highway. As soon as you enter the parking lot, you will see the squirrel on the brick wall. Examine it and use your dog to go find the object by the fence that leads down an alleyway on your right, and you'll receive a silver plate. The 23rd squirrel location is east of the last location on Dakokuten Street. I probably pronounced that wrong. And it's next to a store icon that's on your map. You will see the squirrel on the ground in the middle square of the decorative tiles. Examine the squirrel and then use your dog to go across the street to the bushes to collect the extract recipe Super Grip. The 24th squirrel location is north of the last squirrel location over by Hamakita Park, right outside Le Chat Blanche. And you will find it just below the stairs on the wall at the lowest level. Examine the squirrel and use your detector to follow the green light to the tree just up the stairs to your left. Examine one of the holes in the tree and you will receive a record called My Own Style. The 25th squirrel location is just north of Hamakita Park in the back left corner of the building. You will see the first squirrel on the wall. Once you examine it, use your detector to follow the green light to the other side of the building to the second squirrel, which is also on the wall. by the bushes. Examine that squirrel, and then you can use your drone to fly to the top of the building and collect the shiny object, which is Hug Bomb Beta. The 26th squirrel location is in the middle of Homikita Park. Go to this, examine the squirrel, and then use your dog to find the object that is just to the tree to the left of the big tree with the squirrel on it. You will then collect the extract recipe Savage Slam. The 27th squirrel location is also in Homikita Park, over to the east side near the skaters. The squirrel is in the water feature on the ground. Examine the squirrel and use your detector to follow the green light to the flowers just to the left. Examine the flowers to receive extract recipe Lubrication Tactic. The 28th squirrel location is south of Homikita Park in the Hotel Grande Blue Marina courtyard. You will see the squirrel as soon as you enter this courtyard on the wall above the doorway. Examine the squirrel, and then you can use your noise amp to follow the sound to the tree that is just right of you. Examine the hole in the tree and receive Motivator shirt SSS. The 29th and last squirrel for now in Yokohama is southwest from the last squirrel location in Chinatown. You will need to go to the open area across from the restaurant where a lot of people are hanging around, and a gazebo. Go inside the gazebo and look up at the ceiling, and you'll see the squirrel. Examine it and use your detector to follow the green light to the statue right behind you on your right. Examine inside of its mouth to collect the grip booster. That is the last squirrel you'll be able to find in Yokohama for now. We will need to come back to find the final and 30th squirrel for this location, which will be at that point in time the 56th squirrel. Now we need to go over to Kamurocho to find the next 26 squirrels. The first squirrel in Kamurocho and the 30th squirrel overall is located on West Showa Street? I don't know. Inside the smoking area on the wall as soon as you walk in. Examine the squirrel and use your noise amp to follow the sound to the wall just outside the smoking area. And once you examine it, you'll receive a yellow Pyroxene. The 2nd/31st squirrel location is just left to the last location over by the taxi. You will see the squirrel on the ground on top of a manhole cover. Examine it and use your dog to locate the object over by a sign to your right. You will receive Guard Shirt S. The 3rd or 32nd squirrel location is in Cafe Alps, just west of your last location. Once you enter the restaurant, make your way to the back and you will see the squirrel on the picture on the wall, on the back wall. Examine it and then use your detector to follow the green light to the back room and look above the door leading outside, and you'll see the 2nd squirrel on the sign above it. Examine it and then use your noise amp to follow the sound outside the back alley to your left and collect the object Free Pass Voucher 2. The 4th or 33rd squirrel location is east of Cafe Alps, across the street from the pawn shop. You'll see the squirrel on the large circle on the ground. Examine it and use your noise amp to follow the sound to the 2nd squirrel, just right behind you in the alleyway west of the pawn shop. Examine the squirrel and then use your dog to locate the object, which is just north by a trash bin as you exit the alleyway. You'll receive the record Inharmonic. The 5th or 34th squirrel location is a little to the east from the last location. Head towards a small alleyway and you'll see the squirrel on the white beam by a bike. Examine it and use your noise amp to follow the sound just above the first squirrel. Examine that 2nd squirrel on the balcony and then use your drone to fly to the top of the balcony and collect the shiny object, which is checkered paint. The 6th or the 35th squirrel location is west down Tenkaichi Alley. If you enter the alley through Nakamichi Street, then the squirrel is on the wall on your right. Once you examine it, use your dog to locate the object just behind you in the park next to the water fountain. You will receive Contact of Supreme Worldly Desires. The 7th or 36th squirrel location is north of the last location on the corner of Nakamichi Street and Taiki Boulevard and Taiki Boulevard. I think it's Taiki. Enter the small opening in the building. You will see the squirrel in between two elevators. Examine it and use your noise amp to follow the sound to the light post just outside of the small entrance. Examine it to collect dragon paint. The 8th or 37th squirrel location is just east of that last location, still on Taiki Boulevard. I'm not sure. The squirrel is on the green object on the sidewalk. Examine it and use your detector to follow the green light just north of that squirrel. Examine the top of the signpost to receive anime paint. The 9th or 38th squirrel location is a little southeast from that last location. Just head east into a small parking area and you'll see the squirrel on the sign above the back wall of the area. Examine it and then use your dog to locate the object that is by the pole just across the street. You will receive the skill Unofficial VR Strategy Guide 2021 True. The 10th or 39th squirrel location is just east of that last location, and the squirrel is on the white sign with the shrimp figure on the building on the corner. Examine the squirrel and then use your noise amp to follow the sound to the alleyway just to your left. Examine the lockers or boxes on the wall to receive Battle Support SS. The 11th or 40th squirrel is in the Champion District just north from that last location. If you enter the district from Sinyo Avenue, then as soon as you enter it, you will see the first squirrel on the wall in front of you. Examine it and then you can use your noise amp to follow the sound to the second squirrel, which is on the wall of the same building just to your left. Examine that squirrel and then use your detector to follow the green light down the alleyway just in front of you to the stairs to your right. Examine the squirrel that's on the stairs and use your dog to find the object that is a little ways to your left and down the street, which is over by a sign that says Evergreen. You will then receive Battle Innerwear SS. The 12th or 41st squirrel location is just west of that last location and just outside the Champion District on Sinyu Avenue. The squirrel is on the right side of the wall as you first enter the alleyway. Examine the squirrel and use your noise amp to follow the sound further back into the alleyway, and examine the box in the back corner to receive a blue Pyroxene. The 13th or 42nd squirrel location is north of the last one in a parking lot on East Shichifuka Street. I'm sure that's not how you pronounce that. The first squirrel in the area is on the red ticket dispenser. Examine that squirrel and use your detector to follow the green light to your right and behind a sign to the second squirrel, and then examine that one to use your drone to fly to the top of the building to collect the shiny object Camo paint in green. The 14th or 43rd squirrel location is in the restaurant to the west, right across the street from the last squirrel location. Once you enter the building and go up the stairs, you'll see the squirrel on the divider. Examine the squirrel and use your noise amp to follow the sound further into the restaurant to the right towards a table. Examine the bowl on this table to receive natural paint. The 15th or 44th squirrel location is east from the last location, and you'll need to go to Park Boulevard and enter the entryway to the arcade. Before you head down the stairs towards the arcade, if you turn around, you will see the squirrel on the wall as you leave. Examine the squirrel and use your detector to follow the green light outside the entryway of the arcade. Back outside and turn towards the paper lanterns and examine them to receive a woody pop. The 16th or 45th squirrel location is right behind you from that last location. From the paper lanterns, turn around and you'll see the squirrel on the gate. Examine it and use your noise amp to follow the sound to the tree to your left. Examine that and you will receive a platinum plate. The 17th or 46th squirrel location is west from that last squirrel location. Head towards the building on Shichifuku Street. That is just north of, I believe it's called the Millennium Tower. You will need to enter the room or building that has the pictures of the women. Once you enter it, turn around and look at the doorway and you will see the squirrel on the sliding door. Examine it and use your detector to follow the green light just outside the building and across the street. Examine the section of the bushes that touches the edge of the posts of the barrier. There you will receive the skill X Yielding Hammer. The 18th or 47th squirrel location is just down the road north from the last location, right above Hill's Garden and to the right of the hotel district. You will see the squirrel on the wall to your right. Examine the first squirrel and use your detector to follow the green light directly behind you. Look above the wall and you will see the second squirrel on the building. Once you examine it, use your drone to fly over the wall to collect the shiny object, Cute Paint. The 19th or 48th squirrel location is on the street that says Hotel District, just a little north from your last squirrel location. You will see a small alleyway in the middle. Once you start to walk down the alley, you will see the squirrel on the wall to your left. Examine it and use your noise amp to follow the sound further back into the alleyway, and examine the box on the wall to receive X Enhancement Belt. The 20th or 49th squirrel location is inside the building where the batting cages are, just a little south from your last squirrel location. Once you enter the building, head to your right to the back and examine the first squirrel on the green board on the wall. Use your detector to follow the green light through the door to your left. Head to the very back of the hallway, and before you leave the building, turn to your right and you'll see the second squirrel on the wall behind I think it's some type of cigarette receptacle. Once you examine it, use your noise amp to follow the sound outside to your left as you exit the building. Examine the vent on the building to receive a bronze plate. The 21st or 50th squirrel location is to the west of the entrance to the batting cages, over by Ginda Law. Before you enter the convenience store, look up to the right of the entrance and you'll see the first squirrel. Examine it and use your noise amp to follow the sound just a little to your right on the wall right below the sign. Examine the second squirrel and use your drone to fly to the shiny object on top of the sign, and you will receive Training Innerwear. The 22nd or 51st squirrel location is south from that last location on Northwest Theater Square. Once you turn down the street, you will see black and white window displays of trees on your left. If you look into the last one, you will see the squirrel inside. Examine it and use your detector to follow the green light to the lantern behind you, which looks like it has a tree symbol on it. Examine the lantern to receive the skill Extract Virtuoso Double. The 23rd or 52nd squirrel location is in Theater Square. Head to the side of Theater Square that is closest to Theater Avenue and look on the ground, which is close to the middle of the square. You will see the squirrel on the ground, so examine it and use your noise amp to follow the sound to the Sega sign on the building right next to the squirrel. Once you examine the sign, you will receive Camo Paint in blue. The 24th or 53rd squirrel location is on the corner of Theater Avenue and Shichifuka Street, just a little northeast from the Theater Square and the last squirrel location. If you are exiting from Theater Square and heading north on Theater Avenue, you're going to see the squirrel on the wall to your right. Right behind a sign, examine it and use your dog to find the object over by the hot dog entrance. You'll receive colorful paint. The 25th or 54th squirrel location is inside I think it's called the Millennium Tower. Once inside, go to the elevators and head to the roof. As soon as you get out, head straight in front of you towards the corner of the building and towards the waterfall fountains. Behind one of the waterfalls, you will see the squirrel. Once you examine it, use your detector to follow the green light directly behind you to the flowers that are growing on the side of the wall. Examine it and you're going to receive Extract Recipe Versatility. The 26th or 55th and final squirrel location in Kamurocho is still inside the Millennium Tower. Head back towards the elevators and go to the first floor. Once you get off the elevators, head to your right and head directly down the stairs. Once down the stairs, you will see the squirrel on the siding on the back. Examine the squirrel and use your detector to follow the green light to your left from the squirrel into the large open lobby area of the tower. As you enter the lobby, look up and examine the hole that is the farthest to the right, and then you'll receive Eye of the Dragon. Once you have collected 55 squirrels, you will need to make your way back to Yokohama and go to Fukutoku Park, which is east of the Bar District. Here you will see the little girl again, and once you approach her, a cutscene will begin. Once it finishes, you'll be able to get the 56 squirrel, which is on the side of the ramp in the middle of the park. Use your noise amp and follow the sound to the top of the ramp to collect 2 acorns, and then another cutscene will start. Once the cutscene ends, you'll acquire 50,000 yen and 15,000 XP, and this will finish the side quest. I want to thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoy this video, please hit the thumbs up. And if you want to see more videos from me, hit the subscribe button. And if you want to let me know if this video helps or not, leave me a comment down below, and I will respond to everyone, and I'll see you next time. Bye! La Chatte Blanche.